Right then, San Andreas fans, try and explain this as quickly as possible and avoid the usual long-winded rants. But basically, if you want to spawn any vehicle within the game, situation as of last year was there was an NTSC cool plugin ASI loader thing, which is impossible to use for PAL and impossible to replicate for any other version or region because there's no information on it, and if anybody was able to do a similar thing without any information, then they're probably so advanced at coding that they're not going to bother doing it. So we've got the ability to spawn cheats by entering in-game button cheat commands. For example, this one here is R1 square, triangle square, R1 right, circle down, R2 1 2 3, and that'll spawn the caddy. Now I can't remember how many vehicles there are. I think there's like 6 or something you can spawn in, but it's not comprehensive, and these are built into the game and they don't cover the 200 available options or whatever for vehicles. Now, I have a tendency to just post and dump crap online and then delete stuff, and when I go back to a game a year or two later start again. So unfortunately I don't think I have my notes on blank memory addresses, which we'll come to later. Also don't have the notes with all of the available spawn vehicles and addresses. However, it doesn't really matter. At the moment, if the user wants to, they can enable this cheat and, for example, change the caddy, which is that 01C9 here. We can change that to the tank, and we can save our state. We can enable our cheats and load the save state, disable the cheats. So that'll change the address, and then if we re-enter the cheat, which was R1 square, triangle square, R1 right, circle down, R2 1 2 3, and press the wrong button because I'm being shot at. Try that again. Okay, so now we can spawn the tank. So that's great, so the user can switch between the two and update and spawn any vehicle they want. However, it'd be nice if we can shorten this. So yeah, won't go into a detail, you can see what it does. This cheat here can be permanently enabled, as well as the other one down here, and what this does is pressing R1 and R2 will put this cheat here, spawn any vehicle, into activated status, which means when we press any 2 buttons, which I shall demonstrate now, so we'll press R1 and R2 to activate, and any 2 buttons, and it helps if you've got your cheats enabled, because otherwise it's not going to work. So R1 R2, and there we go, now we can spawn in the tank on pressing 2 buttons. So we want to disable that with L1 and L2, and now we can press any 2 buttons again, and there you go. So that's a pretty good way of spawning in any vehicle. It'd be nice if we could increment and decrement the vehicle ID, however it got way too complex and just didn't work, and there's way too many fucking bugs. Some of them I'll hopefully cover now, but the most important thing is that I just tell you how to actually get it working. So the current situation is, 3 years ago with Vice City, I released a small template app, which I still to this day can't believe people haven't done with regards to Lua scripts and cheat engine. There should just be a template app that people can go in and literally change addresses and values to existing scripts, and no matter what the game is for PS2, every pnach should be able to be transferred easily. Any super advanced coder within the time that it's been available really could have probably done this as an automated script, since we've got pnach converters and all the rest of it, and it's just a case of find and search and replacing text. Anyway, what I've done is created this little script here, and again it's based on the one from Vice City 3 years ago, so essentially just changing the addresses to suit Vice City. Now I could have added a boolean to detect a certain value at a certain address and then just change on a game, but I fucking hate code, so whatever. What we've got here is the ability to increment and decrement the vehicle ID. So 432 is currently the tank. We can increment and decrement it. We can enable vehicle spawn and disable vehicle spawn, which enables and disables like that. However, the problem is, I think this needs read-write access or some sort of shit. Now, if you update these things, let's take an example of cars invisible. So this works in real time, okay? However, and if you hold down R1 to show my money and press money updates in real time. Max skills can be enabled, but that cheat's already been done, and so on and so forth. But when we get to, let's just do that, there we go, patch engine. Okay, so if we save a state there and then reload it, the engine, the FPS is not going to be patched at this point because we need to boot that at the start of the game, but that doesn't really matter. Anyway, so we're going to disable the vehicle spawn. We're going to press 2 buttons. That's disabled. We're going to enable it. We're going to press 2 buttons, and even though it's enabled, it's not working. We're going to increment the vehicle ID, and we're going to oh, let's take that back, sorry. We're going to disable the cheats, we're going to increment the vehicle ID, we're going to enable the spawn, and then we're going to double tap circle, and it doesn't do anything. So why is that? Why is it not updating in real time when car's invisible and everything else is? It must be a read-write access or something to do the address, and I don't know the code or how to do it to make that enabled. But I do know a workaround, because now that we've got this app, we can go back to here, and the whole point of this section was to increment the vehicle ID by 1 or decrement it when the user presses the button. But there's an inherent problem with that, because these cheats get executed on the vsync, on the sync, and essentially that happens every single frame. We're running at FPS 50 here, and PlayStation 2 generally runs at, say, maybe 20 if the game's shit, but usually you aim for 25 and 30 maximum, I think, is the PS2 FPS. So if we were to press R1 to increment our vehicle ID, unfortunately what's going to happen is it's going to execute more than once, and you know, it's subsequently going to, instead of increase it by 1, like increase by 6 and stuff like that. So I can demonstrate this by going to enable cheats, pressing L1, so we've got a dynamic HUD. We've only got £10,000. If I hold down R1, it's going to count from 0 to 60. Once it reaches 60, it's going to reset to 0. Now that we've done that, for some reason, that will allow read-write access in our app. So if we go back to our app now, and we enable vehicle spawn, and we increase the value, and we double tap circle, well, that's not working. But if we disable cheats and enable vehicle spawn and double tap working, that's not working. So what's going on? How can we get around it? How can we fix it? Well, the only fucking way I know how to fix it is to enable the cheats, enable the vehicle spawn, spawn in that, which is ID 448, then do the counter from 0 to 60. Now that you've done that, well, I did that twice then, so it's updated to vehicle ID. We can now enable our cheat and spawn in the second ID up. Now, we don't want to use that money counter ever again now, but because we've done it once, we should be able to update this in real time. And now when we spawn vehicles, it works. So there you go. Again, it's like really difficult to explain what the fuck's going on, but basically for some reason, and this is something I didn't really realise that would actually happen, but obviously I thought I could transfer this, make the app, and it would work in real time, and it didn't. But by keeping that and adding the counter to the menu address, it does it. Now we do need a blank memory region to put the counter at instead of using the money, but this is not a problem because we only have to do it once. We can increase or set the money to any value that we want, so we can reset it back to the beginning. That's no problem at all, and then we can disable the R1 cheat for the counter because we no longer need that. We can just do whatever we want with changing the ID here and then enabling the cheat and disabling it. So if I disable the cheat here now, it's not spawning in, and if I enable the cheat here now, the vehicle spawns in, and if I do the ID, the vehicle spawns in. Again, I don't know why that is, haven't got a clue, can't fucking work it out. If I save the state and then shut down the app and shut down the things and then reload the state, and then I'm actually gonna, this is essentially gonna count as booting up a different app because I'm just using the non-compiled version. But now you can see the vehicle ID updates once it connects. We're on 441, we'll do that, we'll try and spawn a vehicle, do that, try and do that, and then it spawns in that, and then it spawns in that, and then we do that, and then it spawns in that, and it just keeps spawning in that. So we know how to fix it. We've got our cheats enabled there, and then we're going to enable our vehicle. We're going to spawn in that one. We're going to do the counter resets. We're going to spawn in another one. So now it's on a boat, and now we can go back to spawning in whatever we want in real time. Again, not perfect, not brilliant. Obviously, the ASI dependency loader kind of just blows this out of the water, really. But considering for 20 years we've had no PAL support, and we're never else going to get it. And last year we did not have this vehicle ID enable spawn and things put into the cheat menu, and it's been over a year. No one's updated it. Plus, it's been 3 years, and nobody's added to the template anyway, and done everything. This is the best that we're going to get. So I pretty much spent yesterday redoing this menu, adding that vehicle thing. It all worked within, like, as usual. Writing this code just takes like 5-10 minutes, and I fucking hate programming and I'm shit at it. It was hours of fucking trying to work out what is going on with the bugs and the real-time things. The read-write access is probably something that somebody would just know about inherently if they write about programming, but these things are like, you know, you don't need to know about C++, or you don't need to know how to use HTML or fucking Lua or Unreal Script or main SCM or C# or any of that. When people tell you to go and learn how to code, it's just a load of bollocks. Like, every single coder that tells you to go out, or someone that calls himself a programmer that tells someone to go out and learn code, is not actually a programmer, because if you ask a programmer a programming question, they should be able to answer it in programming language, and then the best of the programmers will be able to explain that in human terms. Because that's what we do. But all of this is like for people who are like pros and they understand assembly and MIPS and have PS2 development environments and can write IRX files and remake the game as they see fit. If they don't share that information, then the entire user base just lacks out. Plus, it also forces all users towards the NDSC version, which means that even though you're not doing it on purpose, you are inherently promoting piracy, and you know what I'm fucking talking about, because your websites profit off other people's IP. So there you go. It's a companion app for the pnach form to use together to create a real-time option for all of the cheats that we got that work normally in real time are on the right hand side, and all of the ones on the left are the ones you're either going to have to reload a save state or put into the engine at the beginning, or you're going to have to use that money counter at the start of the game. So I mean, it doesn't really matter. We've got a nice combination of everything that's going on now. It's all pretty cool. If it doesn't take too long to get into the game and enable your cheats and get everything set up the way that you want it. So boom, there you go. Enjoy.